just want to say how proud Grandpa Aaron would be of his grandchildren and how beautifully they spoke. And he was proud of them even if they didn't do anything, so much more so. And how Suzanne spoke. And you know, I was at a lecture, I was at Slicho on Saturday night, the year after the Twin Towers, and my wife Sarah and I were at Aish Kodesh here, and by Warrenberger, you know, everyone was talking at that time. It was the anniversary of 9/11. Everyone was talking about that, and he said something that really struck me and strikes me even more now. About, he said, you know, we should mourn for the Twin Towers, but I'm worried about my Twin Towers, my parents. You know, they're swaying. They're starting to sway. Thank God his parents are still alive. And it really struck me as, you know, we relate sometimes better to these public events than our own personal events. And we have our our family, the Jacoby family, has the Twin Towers, and you know, one of them is you know, is down, and the other one is trembling. But you know, we're a close knit. You know, I really want to just wish condolences and Chama to my aunts, who, you know, the relationship that they have, it's just not a relationship that we have anymore. It's so sad. I mean, the way my father grew up in Europe, if you listen to some of the interviews he did on the Holocaust, I mean, the happiest days of his life were, you know, back in this small town. They didn't even have 4G. I mean, it was such a simple life, and he you know, it was just about family, and it was and it wasn't easy. Life was never easy, and I think that's the paradox that he has tried to pass on to us as, you know, easy is not happy, hard, not purposely hard, but we work hard and you get so much out of it. You know, his name is Moshe Aram, and, you know, Moshe means to draw out. And, you know, my father was drawn out of the Holocaust out of many, many difficulties, and it made him better, stronger, never complained, appreciated things. And his name Aram, which was a lover of people, and, you know, the more people I spent the last month with him, which, you know, really were the most meaningful times for me, because, you know, people would say it must be hard. No, it's not hard. It's fulfilling, you know, because, you know, to be able to give back a little bit for all he did for us. And it was amazing. I mean, and first of all, just to see his relationship with people. I mean, he left rehab on Thursday, and people were singing to him and presenting him with a medal, and he was so happy. And you know, wherever you go, he'd say, you know, this is my son, or this is my daughter, or this is my granddaughter, as Samantha said. I mean, he was just such a happy person, and he had a lot not to be happy about. And people loved him. I mean, the comments, the emails that we've gotten, and the comments about it. I mean, just everybody. People didn't even really know him. He was just such an Aram. And, you know, I only pray that it will trickle down to me and the rest of us. You know, he was a joke teller, and one of his favorites was a man who's 100 years old, is unfortunately near the end of his life. He's lying in bed. He smells the most incredible fragrance. He says to his son, he says, "What is that?" And he says, "Oh, that's Mommy's homemade brownies. Oh, bring me the brownies. I should at least have a little bit of enjoyment before dinner." The son goes and comes back. He says, "Where are the brownies?" He says, "That's for after the funeral." We're going to do a little roller coaster here. But, in the last 3 weeks, though, he was supposed to be, you know, it's been a trial and tribulation since Pesach time. He wasn't feeling well, and he wound up falling. And he was supposed to do Yom HaShoah at my kid's middle school. And he was going to be honored as the honored speaker, and he was going to have a dialogue and be interviewed by his grandchildren. And he couldn't make it. And I wanted Howie to fill in for him. And it must have been a premonition of just sort of how things were going for him, but I never really got emotional in public, and it was just, it was so hard to talk about him as it is now, because he was just such a special person. And he was an activist as well, I mean, in his own way. He was the, I don't want to take away from Rabbi Haim, am I leaving anything? No, it's okay. No, he built he was the president of Hillel when it became Hafter with Hillel. He was one of the founding members of Shor Yoshev Yeshiva. He was an activist in Soviet Jewry, but not in the conventional sense, in that he helped his sister and their family to get out, and before it was easy and before it was fashionable. He was so beloved. I mean, just hearing the comments of family members, the way they talk about Uncle Aaron or Cousin Aaron, and he was just so special. He was bigger than life. As I said, he is the Twin Tower. And my mother not being here, I just wanted to comment on that. And my mother is actually, thank God, doing really well. She is sweet and she's beautiful, and she is, within her capabilities, very, very happy. And she made my father so happy. And I think the most remarkable thing about my father is the sacrifices that he made for my mother are, like most people, he was not without fault, but compared to most of us, he was. But the way he treated my mother, the sacrifices that he made for my mother, and that they had a place in Lawrence as well. Many of you know him there from there. He gave it up because when she had a program at the Federation in Boca that there wasn't in New York, so when they were there in the summer in New York, she had nothing to do. So he said, well, we'll give it up. And he gave up so much social, and he loved being at Beth Shalom. He loved his friends here. He gave it up for her, and I think that, as Yonasan said, I mean, I think his neshama is so pure because of what he did, and as an example for the rest of us. I want to express gratitude. First of all, I also want to say that during the last 3 weeks, the last 2 Shabbases when he was not last week, but the 2 weeks before, he was in the nursing, he was in the rehab. And I mean, I wasn't such a tzaddik. I wanted to get out of a social engagement, the shalashudis and whatever. But I walked my father, and we spent time together. And we had really interesting talks. I mean, we literally talked about everything, including this day, that we hoped it wouldn't come for a long time. But we talked about a lot of things, and one of the things I just want to tell my siblings and offer them nechama, condolences, that he expressed his love for everyone, no matter what differences they had. And we all had them at times, but he really loved everybody, and he was so proud of his grandchildren, and I want to express gratitude to Sarah, for my wife, for being. I mean, she really treated him like a father, more than a father, taking care of him, and my mother, and having them. And it's not easy with an aide and all of that, but she really, would call him often and really treated him like unbelievable, and I'm really thankful for that. I want to thank my cousin Rose for agreeing to host the Shiva this week, and I think all this is about honoring my father. And just a secret, we discussed everything, and I discussed how he decided he wanted to be buried here, not in Israel, and I said, well, we should probably have Shiva up in New York, because that's where all your friends are. That's where you're a king there. In Florida, you're happening too, but you just happen to be that old guy. So I said, speak to Rose, because Rose will do it for me. She did, and I really want to thank you so much. We're forever grateful for hosting for us. And so I know I'm going on, and I just want to ask for forgiveness from my father, because I need it, and but I think, and so this is our. I'm just going to conclude that this is our. And he also got to do Hakanasat. This Friday was supposed to be the putting on tefillin for our son Dan, and Dan went to him in the rehab, and he showed him how to put on tefillin, and we have it on video. And so we won't be able to be there on Friday, and we're not going to be there on Friday either. But, thank God they had that moment. And So I'll conclude by saying that this is our family's 9/11, but with God's help, He will protect the remaining tower, and will be able to continue my father to be alive forever by living the life that he lived, and his memory should be for blessing.